We are Team 1466 from Knoxville, and this is our game design idea. Aspects of this game have been changed since the submission of our written documentation. In navigating Nuclearctica, the alliances of robots are working in a nuclear facility and it must stabilize the new nuclear reactor. The reactor must be stabilized before the base reaches meltdown. 2 teams of robots will be deployed to finish construction of the nuclear reactor. As the robots slide on the slick surface of the icy Arctic floor, they must be quick and timely as they stabilize each reactor to get the radiation under control. Now Susanna will discuss our game design process.
So when we first started brainstorming ideas for this game, we originally wanted to do a water game, since first I've never had an FRC game with that kind of theme. But then one of our teammates actually had the idea of using regolith, which is the floor material used in lunar lunacy in 2009, and have that be mimicking what ice is like, which we immediately jumped on. So we started brainstorming ideas with the Arctic, ice, even like some polar animals and igloos to try to figure out how we wanted our game to be. But we did have a lot of rejected ideas during this time. One of our original ideas was for teams to build an igloo on each of their sides, but we realized that that wouldn't be very ideal for beginner teams. It would involve a lot of stacking and it would be pretty boring since there wouldn't be much interaction between alliances. There's also talk of a tug-of-war endgame between the 2 alliances, but we then also realized there'd be high robot damage, and that could disable a robot for an entire competition. And we had also thought about robots being bound together to try to encourage teamwork on alliances, but we also realized that that would be very impractical and lead to robot damage. We did have a lot of new ideas added to our design during this time. We decided to add a nuclear theme, which was very important to us, especially since we're so close to Oak Ridge National Labs, and it was able to incorporate our local community into our theme and design. And we also presented our idea for our game to other local teams in Knoxville to discuss our game design and the different elements of it and to receive feedback from these teams. And we're also able to listen to their game design ideas and give them feedback. So it's a really good way to have cooperation between our local teams in Knoxville. And now Emery will talk about game pieces and game field.
So for the field, we decided to make it 40 feet by 25 feet, which is smaller than a regular field to make it more competitive between bots. We also made the floor out of regolith, which is the same material used in lunacy, which Susanna talked about earlier, to incorporate the ice theme more and make it more difficult. For the game pieces, we decided to use stabilizers, which are light blue dodgeballs. We did this because they're easy to use and most teams have experience with that. We also have control rods, which are black pieces of PVC, which are 9 inches long. We did this because they're easy to access and they're lightweight and they aren't used very often, so it might be more challenging. So that would be very interesting. And now Nicholas will talk about notable field elements and what robots will do.
So some of our notable field elements are the start zones that are 3 by 2 feet, where robots start. Each robot, the robots and an alliance will start on the shorter ends of the field. There's going to be a pick-up zone in the middle of the field that is 13 feet in diameter. It's going to be carpeted, so robots will easily be able to pick up game pieces that will go either into control centers or water tanks. Now, control centers are going to be where control rods are placed. These are going to be sealed during endgame to earn points and also potentially a raking point. And there are 4 control centers on the alliance's side of the field, and 1 is going to be on the opposing alliance's side. Now, water tanks are where stabilizers are going to be scored. There will be 2 ports on these water tanks. One will be a low port, 6 inches off the ground, that is easier for rookie teams to score, and then a high port that is 4 feet tall with a backboard that will be a more challenging scoring options. Stabilizers can be reintroduced by human players once 6 stabilizers have been scored. And now moving on to scoring. Like I mentioned, you have the stabilizer in the water tank, control rods in the control centers. We have our 3 game periods, autonomous teleop and end game, and robots cannot hold more than 3 stabilizers at a time, and teams cannot hold more than 5 no alliance can hold more than 5 control rods at a time. Now Emery will discuss some more scoring.
So for scoring, originally our scoring was not as accessible to rookie teams as we thought it should be. So we decided to make it easier for them to get ranking points by making it not by making it easier to get ranking points at the end by pulling the chains without having to have control rods in the control centers, because some teams might have trouble getting control rods because they're a more difficult game piece. We also added the low port for that reason, because at first we only had a high port, but some rookie teams might have difficulty shooting into higher ports than lower ports. So we added that for more accessibility. And we also wanted a ranking point for both alliances sealing their reactors, just for more cooperation and teamwork and making it more interesting with ranking points. So yep. And now Agni will talk about honoring the individuality of teams.
We have made sure to include elements in our design that honor the individuality of all participating FRC teams. There are challenges with different levels of difficulty in order to make our game more accessible to rookie teams while also providing a challenge for more experienced ones. The water tank element with the stabilizer intake is an easier element that has been done over the years in different variations. The chain pulling element is something more abstract that is supposed to challenge and provoke thought for even the most advanced teams. Also, the intake of the control rods makes building a robot more difficult, as the cylinder shape is a difficult object to pick up and place into a thin slot. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.